What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another Hoodie Q-Tip video. Today, we're talking about the WNBA as a whole. We're talking about different topics around. I don't know why I keep saying we're. I'm just used to having a co-host. If you know me, you know that I have two podcasts. I do Restless Wrestling on Saturdays on Multiplicity Media with my guy P. I do Hoodie and the Headband on Tuesday nights with my guy Bryce. So, if I say we, that's why. I wanted to talk about some WNBA things across the league as a whole. So that's what I'm gonna do today. I'm gonna start with Commissioner's Cup. Indiana Fever, Commissioner's Cup champions, beat Minnesota in Minnesota without Caitlin Clark. Super impressive victory. Defense was there from about the second quarter on, I would say. Um, Minnesota got it to a good start. Went really, really cold. Like missed a lot of open shots, missed a lot of open threes. Um, Both teams were missing layups at the rim early on. Tough for some players to get a rhythm. The only player that really got a rhythm for the Lynx was Alana Smith, and then Natasha Howard was phenomenal for the Fever. And then they were able to just compound on that as a team. Huge shout out to the Fever for getting that win without their best player, without their star player, all-star captain, first team on WNBA, and Caitlin Clark. I think that could be a really good thing for them in the future. Could be a good thing for them going into the playoffs later down the line, of being able to win a big time game like that, a championship game. Even though it's not the WNBA finals, it's still a championship game. You still get a trophy at the end of the day. You get a big bonus at the end of it. So being able to do that against a team that was in the finals last year, beating the Liberty, and you know beating some of the teams that you beat without Caitlin Clark on the team. They beat the Liberty with Caitlin Clark, so not that game. But they went through a good chunk of the Commissioner's Cup standings or pool play without Caitlin Clark, and then they were able to win the championship game without her. Um, I think it helps her see, like, okay, I don't have to force anything. I don't have to try too hard to try to be like, I'm Caitlin Clark. I got to make everything happen. This isn't Iowa anymore. This isn't last year's Indiana team. This is a different team. Um, you have really good players around you. Let them help you, basically. Let them help you make the game easier for yourself. Um, as for the Lynx, not a good loss, but at the end of the day, it's not the WNBA finals. You sweep it under the rug. You make the adjustments that you need to make. You come back and you get better. That's my take on it. All stars. We have the starters have been named. The two captains are Caitlin Clark and Nafisa Collier. The rest of the starters are Sabrina Ionescu, Paige Beckers, Alicia Gray, Nneka Ogwumike, who is the fourth player to ever get 10 All-Star games. I think it was BG, Sue, Diana Taurasi. So shout out to Nneka Ogwumike. Asia Wilson, Brianna Stewart, Satu Sabali. I feel like I'm missing somebody. I don't even know how many people I just named. I was doing this and then lost count. Let's see. Did I say everybody? I feel like I said everyone's name. I said Paige. Aaliyah Boston. Sorry. Aaliyah Boston is also an all-star starter. The reserves will be named on Sunday on social media. I really hope that Gabby Williams is named a reserve. I feel like Skylar Diggins is obviously going to be named a reserve. Kelsey Mitchell will likely be named a reserve. Ryan Howard probably will be named a reserve. I don't know if the Lynx will get a second All-Star this year. Kayla McBride might get that second All-Star nod. She did come in a little later to the season, so I'm curious to see if they reward her for that. Yeah, I do want to talk about the voting thing. People were in a tizzy about Caitlin Clark being ranked the ninth guard on the voting. Is it kind of crazy? Yes. We've seen some other players that are really good guards in the league that were like 12th, 15th. So, and my take on it is this. Should Caitlin Clark be higher than ninth in the player rank? Absolutely. But this isn't the first time that we've seen WNBA players vote on their peers and it be mostly due to personal reasons. So I don't know if you guys remember this, or I don't know if you guys were fans when this was happening. If you weren't, no shade at all, literally. A couple years ago, back like multiple years in a row, there is just like in the NBA, there's a survey at the end of the season. They ask, oh, who's the most overrated player? People said Tyrese Halliburton. That came back to bite a lot of dudes in the behind. Obviously, it was anonymous, so no one knows who said it. But I did the same thing for the WNBA. And the players, I want to say it was 3 seasons in a row, but it might have just been 2. There was one year where Candace Parker was voted most overrated, and then there was another year where Skylar Diggins was voted most overrated. Now, Candace Parker is one of the all-time greats. I'm biased, as you can see. There's a jersey right there of hers. I'm biased. I think she might be the greatest of all time. It's between her and Maya Moore, in my opinion. In my opinion, Skylar Diggins, one of the greatest point guards to ever play in the WNBA. Don't know where she ranks right now because her career is not over yet, but she's probably top 6 or 7 just off the top of my head. If she's not, she's not. At the end of the day, neither one of those players were ever overrated. Even when Candace was in her last season with the Aces, she was still phenomenal in the basketball court, and it wasn't her last season that they said this. And Skylar Diggins has been great everywhere that she's gone, whether or not off the court things have had their issues or whatever. She's been great wherever she's gone. So this isn't the first time that we've seen WNBA peers, WNBA players vote on players and it be a personal vote rather than an actual basketball vote. I'll just leave that there. Let's see. I made a video about the Aces a couple days ago before they played the Mercury. They won that game, which I said they might win that game since I'm recording this before the game. They did win that game. And then I also said I wasn't sure if they were going to make any moves. Of course, since I said that, they did. They traded for NaLyssa Smith. They traded a 2027 first round pick, mind you. Now, not a terrible move. But I will say this. If you don't win a championship, and some of these players don't come back next year, if the Aces aren't able to bring in a bunch of people next season, and this 2026 into 2027 season isn't very good, you may have just lost the opportunity of getting a Juju Watkins or a Hannah Hidalgo. The list goes on and on. There's a ton of players in that 2027 draft. There's a ton of players in next year's draft. They gave up a second round pick in the next year's draft as well. You're betting on NaLyssa Smith being the number 2 pick that she was drafted as a couple years ago, next to A'ja Wilson, which she's capable of doing. She's a very talented player. But if I'm the Aces, if I was going to make that kind of move, I would have done it for someone that is more established, that their floor is high. NaLyssa Smith's ceiling is really high, but her floor I don't think is very high, in my opinion. I'm a fan of NaLyssa Smith's game. It's just I feel like the teams that she's been on hasn't been the best situation. So maybe this is one of those situations where she gets here and she plays a lot better and she has a different, swagger about herself. Granted, she was just on the team with her significant other. So if she was going to play at her best, it would have been on that side. Now, I don't think she played bad, but she's never been the most efficient player. I talked about this on the Hoodie and the Headband episode. If you want to go watch that, Multiplicity Media is where to find it. I talked about the efficiency or the lack thereof in terms of NaLyssa Smith's game over the last couple of years. This year, she's shooting, I think, like sub 20% from 3. Maybe it was like 28. I'm getting the numbers mixed up. I read them off on the podcast. And she's shooting sub 40% from the field, I believe, from what I read. So, Jewell Loyd was going through some efficiency issues. She's starting to get a little bit better with that. But from where Jewell Loyd started to where she is now, you would hope that would get better because it was really bad at one point. You don't want 2 players in your starting lineup to be struggling with efficiency issues or to have career efficiency struggles. That's going to be hard to do next to a team that is trying to find their way, trying to find their rhythm, trying to find their mojo. Some people weren't excited or weren't happy that Elizabeth Kitley was released. I'm a huge fan of Elizabeth Kitley. I thought that she was going to have a really good season this year. Becky Hammond mentioned before the season that they were going to bring her back slowly. They weren't going to rush her due to the ACL injury coming into the WNBA last year. And there were times where they would give her time and she would come in and she would play well. There were times where she would come in and she would get foul trouble kind of quick. So I'm not sure that there were ever a real I don't think there was ever a real like, oh yeah, we want her on the team, or like she's a part of the future of this team. Um, so not super surprised by that. I just it's weird because like throughout the offseason, like the player that you've seen the most on the Aces social media account was Liz Kitley, because she was the one that was in the gym. I'm not gonna say she was in the gym more than anybody else, but she was in the gym almost on a daily basis. It felt like, and anytime the Aces posted like gym content or anyone in the gym, it was Liz Kitley. Now, granted, Asia Wilson, she hoops everywhere. Some players weren't unrivaled, so it makes sense that players weren't in Vegas. But Liz Kitley, throughout the off season, throughout this entire run of hers, she was always putting the work in. So I am very sure that she's going to get another shot somewhere. Hopefully, she gets a shot where she can really play, she can really go and be herself, play her game. Um, let's see. There were a couple things I wanted to talk about, but I don't know if I touched on everything. Um, we've got some players coming back from Euro Cup or Eurobasket, sorry. Um, so a lot of teams are back to full health. Some players are getting released, like Julie Van Loo, which I thought was kind of crazy. Um, so teams are getting back to full health. Hopefully, we see Cam Brink back soon. I know she said on her podcast that she wasn't going to rush back. She was going to take her time. But I will say, we miss watching Cam Brink play basketball. And I don't know if everybody else is on social media, but I've seen a lot of things being said about Cam Brink on social media. And I think people are forgetting about who Cam Brink really is and who she's been on the basketball court throughout her college career, high school career, Olympic career, WNBA 6 games that she was able to play. She is a phenomenal basketball player. If you're forgetting that, I need you to go do your research, please. That's all I ask. Can't think of anything else off the moment. This was like a spur of the moment. Like I just felt like talking about some things WNBA related. Um, there will be more videos WNBA centric. So you know where to find me. I'll be right here, or I'll be on the hoodie and the headband talking about women's basketball as a whole. Like, share, subscribe. Thank you for listening and watching, and I will see you the next time.